Good morning, brothers and sisters. This is your brother Melvin coming at you again, and trust you had a blessed weekend and enjoyed your Shabbat, your Sabbath, and I know I did. And was refreshed and restored, and just excited about what we have just right ahead of us. It's still almost too amazing to believe that we can be this close to having Jesus meet us in the clouds, in the air. Wow. Matthew, the 26th chapter. I want to talk to you about the night of the rooster. The night of the rooster. Normally times when we think of a rooster and the rooster crowing and the cock crowing, that's usually associated with dawn and the morning, daybreak. But Jesus associated this cock crowing, this communique between Peter and himself, to the activity of a particular night. Night is used often in poetry and song and prose as a way of describing unusual, intense anguish, pain, just a time of hopelessness and despair, a time of just holding on and hanging on and praying and longing for the morning light. Matthew 26 and verse 30, the Bible says, and after singing a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. Then Jesus said to them, you will all fall away because of me this night. For it is written, I will strike down the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered. So Jesus is telling him it's going to be a long night, fellas. It's going to be a rough night. It's going to be a frightening night. It's going to be a fear-filled night. But in verse 31, he says, verse 32, but after I have been raised, I will go before you to Galilee. Joy comes in the morning. But Peter answered and said to him, even though all may fall away because of you, he says, I will never fall away. And Jesus said to him, truly I say to you that this night, before a cock crows, you shall deny me 3 times. This night, this is the last night. It's the night of the rooster. It's the night that Jesus says, this night is going to reveal to you the depths of your humanity. This night is going to reveal to the strongest of the strong your very weakness. This is going to be a long night. And this probably has been a long night. This period of time that we are in right now, beloved, is a period of night time. It's just before the dawn. It's the night time. It's this night that I want to talk about for the next couple of nights. This night, no doubt, is one of the darkest nights on record. As far as the disciples are concerned, As Peter is concerned, I'm sure he would be willing to say that of all the nights of his life, this probably is no doubt the darkest night. The other disciples had spent a lot of years, a lot of nights, 3.5 years. That's a lot of nights. 360 nights, 3 times 360. You know, that's over 1,000 nights that they had spent with him. But this night, the night of the rooster, it was a night unlike any other night. But as I was thinking about this night, I was thinking about another night. And since Jesus, when he told us to remember, to reflect upon our time, these last moments that we're living in, he says, I'm going to give you 2 other times to look at: the days of Noah and the days of Lot. And as it was in the days of Lot, so shall it also be in the coming of the Son of Man. So as I was thinking about this night and other nights, dark nights in the history of humanity, and then I was thinking about the night that the evening that the angels came. See, this night began with a very special dinner in the evening, a Passover dinner. And you could not have predicted the horror that would take place, not looking at how the night had began, an evening, an intimate evening with your people you love. So I thought about that night, that evening when the angels came to Sodom. It was very much like the night of the rooster. In Genesis chapter 19. Now the 2 angels came to Sodom in the evening, as Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. And he said, Now behold, my lords, please turn aside into your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet. Then you may rise early and go on your way. And they said, however, no, but we shall spend the night in the square. But you know, they didn't spend the night in the square. They were encouraged by Lot to come on home with him and spend the night with him. I don't know where you're spending the night. But if you're like many of us, you're spending this night of the rooster, this night just before the light of life comes to take us out of this darkness. Perhaps your darkness is a sickness, perhaps your darkness is cancer, perhaps your darkness is to be surrounded as he was by mocking family, his son-in-laws who thought he was joking, thought he wasn't serious about what he was saying during that night. But it was It was to be the darkest night ever experienced in the life of Lot. We don't have time to go through the whole story, but I just want you to think about that night, how frightening, how horrifying it was. It was the night when Lot was assaulted, his family was assaulted, he was threatened with being raped and abused. I mean, it was a horrifying night. The night of the rooster. This very night, Jesus said to disciples, some of you, all of you, he said, are going to forsake me. One of you is even going to deny me during this night. This long night, this frightening night, this night of the rooster. But Jesus took them past the night to the light. And that's what you and I need, perhaps more than anything right now. In this dark night, in this night of the rooster, is to believe that he is going before us to Galilee. That night was going to be long, and that night was going to be frightening, and that night was going to be terrifying and horrifying. And that night was going to bring out the worst fears in all of them. The fear that they couldn't hold on. The fear that they couldn't make it. The fear that they were not good enough to have been chosen by Messiah. But beloved, if you have been chosen, if you've been washed, if you've been redeemed, if you've been reconciled, I want you to know that you can make it through this dark night of the rooster. In 1963, it was a young preacher by the name of Martin Luther King Jr. who was leading a demonstration in Washington, D.C., and he called it the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. He said, and I quote in the second paragraph, 50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree is a great beacon of light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. The long night of our captivity, beloved, is about to end. It's the night of the rooster. But the Bible says for us in Psalms 30, in verse 4 and 5, sing praise to the Lord, you his godly ones, and give thanks to his holy name. For his anger is but for a moment. His favor is for a lifetime. Weeping may last for the night, but a shout of joy comes in the morning. It's the night of the rooster, and we've got to live through it. But greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. And we've been delivered from darkness and transferred into the marvelous light. Stay in the light as we make it through this night of the rooster. Maranatha.